Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. Wayne Carini is renowned for his ability to restore vintage vehicles and his well-liked television program following vintage automobiles. He has constructed a solid standing as one of the most reliable experts in auto restoration. However, even though he is a well-known expert and an accomplished restorer, everything changed when certain legal matters and disputes appeared suddenly and rushed at Wayne. What occurs if that trust is violated? Danger. Let's discover what actually Wayne's fate, and how did those that chase vintage vehicles, become interested in a lot of mess. The birth date of Wayne Carini is Portland, October 13th, 1951, Connecticut. At an early age, he was encircled by automobiles. Due to his father, Robert Bob Karini was the proprietor of a store that repaired and restored vintage American vehicles in Connecticut's Glastonbury. Growing up, Wayne created a plan around these vehicles. Great affection for vintage automobiles. When he was at the age of 9, he had a significant experience a 1960 Ferrari Rosso Ride SWB Chiaro 250. This ignited his lifetime love of vintage automobiles and Ferraris. Wayne's initial encounter with his father played a crucial role in his future profession. At an early age, he assisted in restoring well-known and expensive vehicles such as Packards, Lincoln, Duesenbergs, and Ford Model AS. This practical experience was beneficial. Him gain a lot of knowledge and enhance his abilities on how to meticulously repair and preserve these vintage automobiles. His dad's Wayne was motivated by his enthusiasm and expertise to honor and preserve the past of these vehicles. This powerful familial impact made Wayne was committed to maintaining the custom of superior automobile restoration alive. This eventually turned into the center of his own labor and achievement. Following graduation at the University of Central Connecticut, Wayne initially considered becoming an instructor, but his passion for automobiles brought returning to the family business. In 1973, he became leadership of his father's store and transformed it into a location known as for repairing vintage automobiles. Wayne had discovered how to fix Ferraris from his François Sicard, a tutor who was once a race mechanic for Ferrari and is well known as one of the leading authorities on Ferrari on the East Coast. Additionally, he gained knowledge from his Luigi Cinetti. Jr. is a close friend of Luigi Cinetti. The father took home the 1949 Ferrari's 24 Hours of Lemon and opened the first Ferrari store in America. With time, he increased the company to work on rare and expensive automobiles. They even had well-known customers like David Letterman and Ivan Lendl, the tennis star. Since then, Wayne's standing as a meticulous, superb work and sincerity prompted him to begin 3 companies in Portland, Connecticut. He owns F40 Motorsports and operates it. Karini Carrosseria and Continental Auto. His motorsport company purchases and sells classic and vintage vehicles. It's a specialist shop that specializes in these cars. The business creates an assortment of uncommon, historically important and valuable vehicles, providing collectors and enthusiasts with availability of some of the most famous automobiles from the past. Along with sales, the business also offers services like evaluations, consignment, and professional auto advice collectors. His car, a Continental nevertheless, is a repair facility that fixes luxury and exotic vehicles. It's a top-notch auto repair and maintenance establishment with a focus on expensive, luxurious, and unusual automobiles, renowned for its knowledgeable experts and cutting-edge diagnostic apparatus. The store offers products from brands including Lamborghini, Porsche, Bentley, Ferrari, Rolls-Royce, as well as further performances or premium cars, with an emphasis on accuracy, excellence, and customization, customer support. The repair business serves customers that want attention to detail, and superior knowledge for their valuable automobiles. Wayne's third company, additionally, Karini Carrozzeria, is a restorer. He spends much of his time in the shop. This car restoration is well known, store renowned for its careful workmanship and commitment to conserving the legacy of traditional and historic automobiles. It is the main Wayne spends the majority of his time at the workshop spending time. managing restoration initiatives, and collaborating closely with talented craftspeople to provide something unique and important to history. Automobiles to their former splendor. Karini Carzaria blends customary methods with contemporary accuracy to provide restorations at the concourse level. From locating genuine components to creating unique parts by hand, the store has established a rapport with collectors and supporters for its focus on specifics, passion, and historical correctness for excellence in automobiles. Despite Wayne likes to restore automobiles, I like the original, unrestored version, automobiles. These uncommon vehicles are frequently included in the unique preservation class at nationwide auto shows and serve as Wayne's primary emphasis, individual collection. Speaking of, Wayne is not at home with personal belongings, not just an accomplished expert, but also an incredibly loyal spouse and a kind father to his 2 daughters. Family is essential to his life, and he's really proud of the strong relationship they distribute. Wayne lives with his family in a rustic, hand-built log home tucked away in Connecticut's tranquil countryside. He built the house himself, which is remarkable. Years prior, investing years of commitment, skill, and attention to construct a cozy and hospitable house where numerous familial recollections have been produced. In addition to his family, Wayne is enthusiastically engaged in assisting autism awareness and research. The dedication to this cause is sincere and intimate. He devotes a substantial amount of time he spent assisting with plan and conduct auto exhibitions and other fundraiser activities pertaining to cars, bringing people together with his passion for vehicles working together for a bigger goal. These events generate essential program funding, offering services that are advantageous to both kids and adults with autism. Wayne's motivation behind this continuous campaign, the result of his younger daughters identified as having autism at a very young age. Her experience has had a significant impact on him, encouraging him to make a favorable effect, not just for her, but also for people in comparable circumstances. His father's love is reflected in his efforts, resilience, and a want to get better the lives of people with autism and to aid the larger community via action and empathy. Wayne is devoted to the automotive enthusiast community and actively participates in numerous auto clubs in the area. He frequently takes part in auto shows, displays, and gatherings, not only to share his love of vintage and cars for collectors, but also to motivate younger generations to show interest in the pastime. Wayne is adamant that without the participation of young people, the wealthy, the custom of collecting automobiles could fade away over time. To avoid this, he spends time mentoring and teaching youth about the history, artistry, and cultural worth of vintage automobiles. Along with his efforts to engage young fans, recently, Wayne has focused on in an effort to support families with children with particular requirements. He has been putting in effort to increase knowledge regarding how collector automobiles can be utilized as beneficial resources when put in a trust for particular needs. By doing this, he wants to demonstrate to families that their beloved cars are unable to only be savored in the here and now, but moreover, offer enduring advantages and financial safety for their family members in the future. Wayne wants to combine his love for automobiles with deliberate planning that encourages and strengthens families dealing with particular difficulties. Prior to starting his well-known television show, Chasing Wayne had already started with classic cars, establishing himself on screen through 2 one-hour appearances TV shows that were broadcast on the HD Theatre channel on Discovery. The Monterey Week came first, which highlighted the prestige and enthusiasm, including the renowned Monterey Car Week, which includes activities such as the Concord Degants and Pebble Beach auctions for luxury collector cars. The second special, The Most Costly Vehicles, brought spectators inside the universe of ultra-rare and extremely unique valued cars, providing information exploring the factors that make some cars so appealing and dominating such excessive costs. These early appearances assisted Wayne in meeting a wider audience and established the foundation for what would turn out to be his lengthy and well-regarded program, centered on finding and restoring vintage cars narrative. For a while, everything appeared to be proceeding without a hitch. for Wayne. Life was steady. He was acting competently, supporting his family, as well as being anonymous. He concentrated on his work and avoided trouble and stayed clear of needless dangers or diversions. According to reports, he was on a steady, constructive course. However, only when everything seemed to be securely under control, a surprising development disturbed that peace. Problems didn't silently approach him. It arrived loudly and forcefully knocking, pushing him to face obstacles he hadn't anticipated. Wayne's legal issues started with what seemed to be a simple exchange using a rare Pierce Arrow coupe from 1934. But in reality, the story began years before Wayne ever got involved. Returning to 2000, an old automobile from Australia, $98,000, was paid by the collector for the rare automobile. The vendor, Gary, a male, was expected to bring the vehicle ASI concurred. Rather, he deceitfully registered the car under his name. Except the legitimate purchaser, Richmond, all right. For many years, the vehicle stayed out of the public eye, and Richmond was deprived of the car he'd covered. Let's fast forward to 2017. Gary is currently having financial difficulties, made the decision to sell the vehicle. Wayne, currently a respected individual in the vintage vehicle neighborhood and proprietor of several businesses, was contacted to evaluate the automobile. Ignorant of its complicated history, Wayne assessed the vehicle between $110,000 and $120,000. When it was raised for sale, he made the decision to purchase it himself. Sadly, Wayne was unaware of that. Documents proving Gary's ownership were fake. Gary had obtained documents fraudulently to give the impression that he was the legal proprietor, and Wayne, behaving honorably, thought the transaction was authentic. In 2018, things became more complicated when the initial purchaser, Richmond, was able to track down the car and found that it had changed hands multiple times. Angry and resolved to get back what he felt was properly his, Richmond brought a lawsuit. Wayne, his business, motorsports, as well as a number of other parties were listed as defendants. The lawful battle exposed years of dubious transactions pertaining to the Pierce Arrow coupe. Later, court records showed that Wayne's actions were not malevolent purpose and sincerely thought that the documents were genuine. However, the court ordered him to help with giving a portion of the contested payment back to aid in the case's resolution. This incident demonstrated how simple it is to trust exploited in the vintage automobile industry sales. Even seasoned experts Wayne Carini, for example, can be dragged into financial and legal difficulties as a result of under the radar and with fabricated documentation exchanges. Although Wayne was eventually exonerated of any misconduct, the case tarnished his image and created a shadow over F40 Motorsports, his company. In addition to Wayne's direct participation, the controversy highlighted weaknesses in the market for vintage automobiles. The absence of standardized methods for verification, inadequate records, and the complicated ownership history can become substantial liabilities. Both dealers and collectors were reminded of the need of careful diligence in such high-value deals. In the end, the Pierce Arrow case turned into a warning story that demonstrated how simple the dependence of the vintage vehicle industry on documentation and trust can be manipulation with long-term effects for all parties concerned. Later on Hartford Courant interview, Wayne stressed the vital significance of records in the vintage vehicle sector. Any dealer in this industry must have faith in the documentation. He said, "You can't always tell the whole vehicle history, yet you depend on the documents serve as evidence, represent a harsh reality. Even seasoned professionals may unintentionally discover themselves embroiled in court issues when records are lacking or uncertain." Among these instances was a Pierce Arrow automobile, which turned into the heart of a well-known ownership contest, the publicity surrounding. The case raised questions about Wayne's trustworthiness, even though the judicial actions finally determined that no direct responsibility for his behavior. However, the public criticism was especially detrimental in an industry where reputation is crucial. The case brought to light a deeper difficulty in restoring the vehicle market, balancing enthusiasm with responsibility diligence. It was a sobering reminder, because documents that are inaccurate or lacking not only present legal dangers, but they can potentially jeopardize trust-based careers. This was an expensive lesson for Wayne in the brittleness of that confidence, even after several years of experience. The Pierce. The Arrow disagreement was not merely a court case. Headache. It revealed the vulnerable structure supporting the vintage vehicle globe collectively, one that is independent of solely on skill and expertise, but on comprehensive documentation. As the Pierce Arrow case resulted in important media coverage and judicial pressure on it wasn't the only dispute Wayne connected to his commercial activities. An additional disagreement had emerged. This time, it included a luxury transaction through his F40 Motorsports as the company. The event brought up important concerns regarding the requirements for the company's customer service and methods of communication. The problem focused on the sale of a 2007 the Lamborghini Gallardo had already promoted using a unique and extremely sought-after premium baggage bundle worth an approximate $808. A major selling point was the luggage, the buyer's point, who was keen to complete the purchase using theorizing that it would be incorporated. But upon the delivery of the car, the purchaser learned that the exclusivity, the spare key for the automobile and the baggage set were absent. What transpired was a protracted sequence of exchanges between the purchaser as well as F40 Motorsports. As stated by entries on Lamborghini Talk, a website that car forum, where the purchaser posted their background, the business's reactions were slow and erratic. Pledges to address the issue went weeks without being fulfilled, increasing the buyer's annoyance. Finally, after being weary of what they characterized them as unsatisfactory customers service, the purchaser started a legal take action. The argument was ultimately agreed to outside of court. The purchaser was given the missing luggage package and spare key through FedEx, but the time-consuming and challenging resolution procedure left adverse impression. In spite of Wayne allegedly taking personal action to assist in resolving the matter, the harm to the partnership with clients and motorsports, the damage to reputation was already done. However, this did not receive the same amount of renown as the Pierce Arrow lawsuit. It continued to raise doubt on Wayne's business methods. It functioned as a warning story about the significance of precise communication, marketing, and attentive client service, particularly in the opulence and market for collector cars, where customers demand accountability and excellence. In a broader sense, the occurrence shows the hazards to high-end brands' reputations merchants. Transparency and trust are vital in an industry where 6 and 7. Frequently, figure trades are predicated on a promise and a handshake. Even a comparatively small error, such as a missing attachment, things can get out of hand fast, into a crisis. In law and public relations, if not managed with expertise and urgency. This instance is a glaring illustration of how transactions could seem simple on the surface can swiftly turn into a serious hazards to one's reputation, particularly in the high-stakes world of collecting and luxury automobile sales. The legal issues and Wayne's involvement in disagreements had extensive repercussions that went well beyond the monetary stress on his company. As the financial impact was substantial, impacting partnerships, operations, and prospects for the future, the harm went deeper, going straight to the core of anything even more important, his reputation. Wayne had constructed a reputation for himself, founded on trust, honesty, and professionalism in the community of vintage automobiles and beyond. His notoriety extended beyond his personal life, resource, but the basis for which a large portion of his achievements and career had been constructed. As word of the legal problems spread, it posed a threat to the industry respect and public trust. He had earned it over decades. In area where one's reputation frequently carries as the stakes, as much weight as competence were extremely high, and the consequences from the disagreements ran the risk of erasing years of earned respectability. For someone who is well known in the community and regarded among the community of vehicle collectors, participation in several litigation, even when no misconduct has been shown, can generate skepticism and distrust amongst admirers, customers, and collectors. Despite Wayne behaved honorably, The dispute regarding the ownership. The verification process began, much debate and worry among collectors and hobbyists. This mistrust is sufficient to have an impact on business, as customers frequently give preference to known for unwavering honesty. The disagreement indicated inherent problems inside Wayne's business, especially in its operations for customer service. A few happy customers started sharing their issues with online discussion boards and reviews websites that indicate communication issues and sporadic minor errors created by the employees. One former, unnamed client's letter to a well-known collector according to an automobile forum, motorsports are reliable but overburdened. Although committing small mistakes, they were indicative of a company having trouble keep up with the operational demands of at the highest level of the automotive industry. Crucially, this critique was not an criticism of Wayne's personality, but instead representing the rising pain encountered by a business trying to scale in a market with fierce competition. Due to the litigation high visibility, despite getting less media coverage in contrast, trust is particularly brittle. In a specialized market such as the vintage automobile sector, when standing is everything. For Wayne, keeping his credibility required not just addressing legal conflicts and controversies, both directly and by using stronger measures in place to stop similar problems down the road. Wayne's difficulties forced him to assess critically and modify the way his businesses carried out their company. This time frame was a certain warning that any error could be swiftly harm trust, which is the foundation of